All right, case study part 2. So now it's time for us to take a look and analyse the numbers and see whether the decision to buy the workshop that Rocky bought was the right decision and whether it has improved his bottom line. So we're going to compare 2018 and 2019. So we've just done 2018 and we're going ahead 1 year to 2019. Now these figures aren't real, they are generated, but they are kind of based on experience in our industry. So what we see here between 2018 and 2019 is that Rocky's sales have gone from 990,000 to 1,190,000. So he's gone up $200,000 in sales. Now, this is based generally on the new hoist. So there was an extra hoist in the premises he bought. So he's now running with 3 hoists rather than 2, which has allowed him to, get more work in and out faster. And he also did put on a new mechanic. So there's a bit of that in there. So we'll have a look at that a bit more in a minute. So expenses have gone up as well, 914,000 up to 970,000. He's put on a new mechanic. He's doing more work, so there's more consumables associated with all of the work that he's doing. So that's not surprising. His rent did go down, but he has got other expenses in putting on the new mechanic and whatnot. So if we have a look at the net profit, we're looking at 76,000 in 2018, and he's now at 220,000 in 2019. So he's made $144,000 more in net profit. Now, bear in mind that in 2018 he had $104,000 worth of rental expense, and now that he's paying the mortgage on the new workshop, that's paid for using the net profit, not before net profit. Okay, so that $76,000 figure includes $104,000 in rent, and that $220,000 figure there does not include the repayments for the workshop. So that looks really good, $144,000, but it's not quite apples for apples just yet. Tax, 2018 he would have been up for about $21,000 in tax, and it's gone up to $62,000. So he's made more sales, he's making a higher net profit. That's not surprising that he's got to pay more tax in as a result of that. Now, this is where it does get interesting. So remember in the first workshop, I spoke about add backs of interest and depreciation. Now, adding these back to the bottom line means that we're getting a more true representation of the cash flow in and out of the business. So depreciation and the interest expense, they're taken up as expenses, but depreciation isn't something that you actually have to pay. And the interest expense is the interest component of the loan that we're paying out of the after-tax money. So we add it back because we're then going to consider that interest when we take up the loan repayments. In 2018, he only had the hoist loan. There was only a little bit of interest. And then in 2019, there was $57,000 worth of interest paid on the new mortgage. So effectively, that $57,000 is interest that he's paid for the premises he's in instead of paying rent. But that's only the interest component. So we're not going to get too carried away just yet. So again, he had $76,000 once we take that into account in money to pay for the loans. In 2018, 2019, he's got $215,000 waiting, ready to pay for loans. So $138,000. Again, we haven't taken into account exactly the difference in his workshop versus rent. Then we go down to liabilities. His liabilities in 2018 was just the loan for the hoist. So $7,937. That wasn't a big deal. And then in 2019, he's paid $93,461,000. So he's paid $85,000 more in loan repayment. Now, if you take the $7,000 away from that $93,000 figure, that's going to give you how much he's paying a year to keep his workshop. So it's around $85,000. So the change in the bottom line, so this is where we compare the apples for apples. So in 2018, he had $84,000 left over after all his expenses and loan repayments. In 2019, he's got $121,000 left over. So he's increased his bottom line by $37,000. Now, the way that Rocky has his business structured is he pays himself a wage. So that's taken up as an expense before this bottom figure. He's got $121,000 that's going to be sitting in the business's retained profit. So judging by this, if Rocky wanted to start taking that $150,000 a year like he was wanting to in the beginning, I don't see any reason why he couldn't be able to do that. So again, we'll just summarize this a little bit more concisely. So the rent versus the loan repayments, he was paying $104,000 in rent a year. His loan repayments plus. I did add in there into the expenses some rates and that kind of thing. So he's saved himself $18,000 each year just on, he was already paying rent, so now he's paying off his own asset. Due to having the additional hoist and an additional mechanic, Rocky also made an extra $200,000 in sales. Now, Rocky believes that extra hoist is capable of up to probably $400,000 worth of revenue a year. So we haven't yet realised all of the income that could be made on this hoist. So moving forward into 2020 and 2021, it's looking really, really good for Rocky's business.